As entrepreneurs, we are so privileged. We have so many opportunities. As we have success, we can build a life. And you see, so many of us get caught up in the business. We think business is all about building more business, attracting more business. And, it's not. It's about building a great life. And I've got an unbelievably talented individual who's going to be sharing with us what she calls the invisible side of success and how you can get this so that you really have true success. She is one of the top leaders in the world on personal and business development. She helps entrepreneurs, and this is something that I think everyone as an entrepreneur, we all want, is to help us make our dreams come true. Not just the number part of it, but our lives. She's had the opportunity to be in front of the UN several times and really guiding and even working with the children from Gandhi and Martin Luther King. I mean, she's been transforming the world, and she's here with us today. You want to stay tuned because it's going to make a huge difference in you realizing your dreams.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Mary Morrissey, I am so excited to have you with us. Power of Skype. First of all, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Well, Mary, I had the opportunity. We're in a mastermind group together, and I heard you present, and I was just blown away. And I didn't really know you up until that point, and then everybody's telling me how much of a rock star you are, and I saw it on stage. And I was just kind of, how hadn't I missed you? And I really wanted to share you with the AESNation.com audience because you made a difference right away in my life, and I know you did. And there was about 200 extremely successful entrepreneurs in that room, and just, a huge difference. So before we kind of go in, all the advice you have, I'd like to hear a little bit of how you got to where you are.
Well, thank you. So I want to say hi to each one of your listeners today, John, and also thank you again for the privilege of having a few minutes with your group. I began to recognize that there was an invisible pattern to visible success when I was younger, and there's a longer story about having an illness that I was told was unrecoverable. And a woman introduced me to a way of relating. This was long before we knew there was a mind-body connection, long before there was a clinic at Harvard Medical Teaching Center called the Mind-Body Clinic that didn't even begin until the 70s. This was in the 60s. But the person who spoke to me understood that there was an invisible component to what was going on in my body. And she helped me unlock the potential in each one of us to transform results. And my personal result was I wanted to be well enough to live a life and raise my child and experience the things I had dreamed of being and doing. And the illness I had said the MDs and others predicted 6 months left of life for me. She helped me unlock that. And I began to realize there was an invisible pattern to the results we have. I knew that if I thought embarrassing thoughts, my cheeks got red. Or that if I thought scary thoughts, my heart beat faster. But I did not know the power of how everything that we see has been created twice. The jacket I'm wearing and the suit you're wearing, somebody thought it up before it could ever take form. The business that each one of us that are here as entrepreneurs today, we thought it up first before it could take form. Now, just because we think it up doesn't mean it comes into form. But there is a way that you can unlock the potential both in the field of possibilities and you, so that they intersect and they actually become a life you love living. And that I've been working over 40 years, both in studying and translating this into the lives of tens of thousands of people around the world, helping them both discover and then deliver a version of life that lights them up. They get healthier, they get happier, they get freer, they have great families, they have great business, great impact. And it's okay if life gets easier. That's what I help people.
No, that's fantastic. And I don't think there's a listener that's on the audio podcast or a video viewer, on the video podcast that doesn't want that. As entrepreneurs, or really any individual wants that. And but as entrepreneurs, we got kind of something else going on. Usually we're a little driven. Some of us, I grew up in the financial side, so I'm a little left brain dominant, logical, numbers, all this stuff. And we get hard charging. And, and then I can remember where, I wasn't taking good care of myself, from the health side and all that, just working and, just really, driven to build this business. One of my first businesses I built, and boy, there was a big price to pay on that.
That's
and
right.
this is so often, and the dream I had wasn't really realized. I mean, I actually made some money on it, but the costs were much higher. And how do you help entrepreneurs, the driven individuals with, they have this dream, but they think they have to make all these sacrifices in the quality of their life to hit maybe the home run, and then I'll sell it, and then I'll take care of it down the...
And it's
Yes.
called the and then living. That when this happens, then I will. So the first thing we do is challenge our inner blueprint for what success is and what we have to trade for it. Because whether we're aware of it or not, we do have an inner blueprint, a belief system about what success is and what we have to trade for it. Those ideas usually got generated in us when we were a kid and we watched other people in how they generated success. And for most of us, it's a work harder, sacrifice model for how to live a successful life. And it's just one version that actually is very slow and very expensive for producing results. When we begin to recognize that we can have what I call a full spectrum wealth system that actually includes health, vibrant, amazing, wonderful relationships, colleagues, who we get to hang out with and what we bring to those relationships, a vocational arousal, a kind of vocation that it doesn't feel like work. We love what we're doing. The idea that we could literally create a business, become massively successful in all arenas, health, relationships, vocation, and time and money freedom, and what we would do with that. That challenge our belief about, and then lay down a blueprint for, if in fact it were possible, what would it look like for you? Because each person has a different longing and a different idea of what full spectrum wealth would be for them. But very few people have someone who helps them with enough questions to pull it out of them to really have a clear picture around what that would be. They're willing to go to an architect to help pull out of them what the picture of a dream house would be, or an office where you could record podcasts for the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of taking that to the other arenas of life is not something that is normal. It's natural, but it's not normal.
Yeah, Mary, what are some of the questions that someone should ask themselves? I'm thinking of the hard-driven entrepreneur, and it's we get all of a sudden at my one business I had 400 employees. I can remember the line outside my office was constant, and it was. And I was flying all over the world, and just the energy level. I was sick a lot. Quality of life. I've been blessed with a very understanding wife who has been with me for 34 years. I'd like to make it another 34 years, and I was testing it definitely then. And what are some of the questions that you ask instead of on the when everything falls down? I mean, we don't want to have them have that heart attack type thing, whether it's business or health or so on. How do we do it before that?
We make a decision, first of all, John, to ask ourselves some tough questions. And that's why I think your viewer, your listener is here today. So right now, if we just get quiet and ask ourselves, am I living a life I really love living? Where is the pain point in my life right now? Is it health? Is it I'm not spending the time with my kids I want to, or my grandkids? Am I wealthier in one quadrant of my life than another? Because you have 4 quadrants. If you keep breathing another 365 days, we can literally measure the results of that life right in your calendar, your checkbook, in your health report, and whether or not on your calendar there's time and money freedom that we can literally see in the field of results. And in the absence of a vision for a higher quality of life, more impact, more difference, more significance, in only the way that you as an individual can dream up. But no dream can come true if you don't dream it. And the period of honestly asking ourselves, with kind of a crazy question like, particularly for a left brain guy, if I waved a magic wand on my life and generated a life I really love living, what would it look like? Who would be there? What would I be doing? What would be on my calendar and what would not be on my calendar anymore? And you'll have to fight yourself a bit to do it, because the very part of you that's created the life you're living believes that that's the only way you can create life.
I was just thinking, Mary, as you saying this, and I want to bring up a personal experience, because this is, as we are, we want all of you to be thinking of your dream, your life. And I can just remember there was a time where I was making all kinds of money. I just really had sold my business. I was in the second year of a 2-year earnout, just coming to the end. Initial year, I loved it. Second, not so much. And I was pretty much sure I wanted to leave, but I was going to stay through the earnout. And it was, but it was a glamorous job, had all kinds of perks, that whole thing, and was making, a nice 7-figure. And then, my wife, oftentimes it's somebody in your life that's a great counselor. It's like, why are we doing it? You don't need the money. You're miserable, the whole thing. And so I talked to one of my partners and they offered more money. And it's that freeing moment when we finally released from that.
What did you do, John, when they offered you more money? What did you do?
Oh, I flew up and met with them.
And then,
yeah.
And
then I flew back and met with my wife, and we both looked and said, this is kind of crazy. And then really what I did, Mary, is what you suggested. I decided what would be my dream, and I started putting it together. And then I interviewed really 15 of my closest friends, both business and friends. And, I knew I wanted to do something else. I'm 45 at the time then. I'm now 59. And I was financially able not to work, but I couldn't do that, I knew. And so I took 6 months off. I had planned on taking a year, but I took 6 months because I'm an entrepreneur and I had to get back at it. My wife got tired of going out to lunch with me. But it was listening to friends and, people that I trust, counsel. If I had known you at that time, you would have been on my speed dial. And because, all of a sudden then I had the opportunity to paint what I wanted to, and I did. And, it was realized that, many of the people online know I have a virtual business where I'm in Silicon Valley, global headquarters. I'm in a pool house. It's a really nice pool house, but it's a pool house and with no employees and doing a very sizable business. But it's we want to make a big impact on our clients, but also quality of life. And so that's why I really appreciate this, and I want everyone to be conscious on being successful on purpose. And it's not just the business part of it.
Right. I just want to speak to the person right now who doesn't feel the freedom that you felt in that moment to make a choice. They feel they're in a more of a stuck place because they started something, people are depending on them, and they're not quite where they have that level of freedom. And I think what helped produce that level of freedom, because I think most of us, John, either had a moment or want a moment where I live in that same freedom you're living in. Mm-hmm. But the person who's listening today or watching today, there is something you can do. Again, no dream can come true if you don't dream it. So take a temperature on your own well-being and the relative happiness and fulfillment that you're living from. And if you want more fulfillment, ease, fun, flow in your life, it starts with you designing a dream of what your life would be like with that. Just as you, at some level, designed a business that is doing whatever it's doing right now. And you're not even on this call unless you're generating a fair amount of income. So with knowing that you're a generative being, that you can generate a business, you can also generate a life that you love living. If you will spend a weekend and just start to entertain ideas of possibilities, even the ones that seem crazy. When we were little kids, we had that imaginative capacity well developed, and it was trained out of us. We were told to stop daydreaming. But the permission to actually consider possibilities, have you always wanted to climb Mount Everest or sail the seas or? Many people call that a bucket list, but once you do list some things that you would love, knowing that you will put your head on the pillow for the last time, not maybe, absolutely. And for most of us, we want to hold that out there as a 30, 40, 50 longer time frame But the truth is, it's in invisible ink. And not one of us knows how much of this thing called time we really have. And whatever we're choosing to do or allow to occur in our lives, we're trading the most valuable commodity we've got for it. And that's this day, this time. We don't get this back. We'll never get it back, not in eternity.
Yeah, it is so powerful, Mary, and it being, just conscious of this, and with all the day-to-day activities, life intruding, business certainly intruding, it's getting clarity about the life you want to lead. You want to love, and you talked about it. The health, the relationships, the wealth, and the spiritual. It's really easy to get out of balance, and I'm okay on time. Sometimes you have to get a little out of balance, but there has to be harmony overall that we're
That's right.
working toward that. No,
And all the power in the world. You have like imagine the best car you've ever wanted or have right now, and roads going everywhere. And you have the key in your hand and the gas tank is full and everything's working properly. In the absence of knowing where you want to end up, you do not know how to harness the power at your disposal in service of a result. The challenge is we get very clear on our business results and we forget to get very clear on our life results. So taking the time to design a very clear picture. If I say to you, your front door to where you live, if I say to you the bed you sleep in when you're at home, if I say to you the kitchen sink in the home in which you live, you did not see the letters S-I-N-K. You saw a picture of a sink. You saw a picture of the front door. You saw a picture of a bed. Your mind thinks in pictures. So when we design a picture of a life we would love living that has specificity to it in the arena, you would know to do that with a dream house or with your business. Just add to that what you already know, that you can do that with your life if you get specific. Rather than letting it happen to you, get a destination in mind of a life you love living. Get clear about it. Take the time to do that.
so
Even a few sentences in each one of those 4 areas will begin to shift the trajectory of your whole life.
So let's say that I do that, Mary, or our fellow entrepreneurs do that, and they get clarity around those 4 areas: health, relationship, wealth, and spiritual, and they what it means to them, because success means different things to different people, and we want you to achieve what's success to you. So
That's right.
I'm running really hard in my business. I take the time. I really start thinking it out. I put it in writing. So I've got that picture in my head. I reduce it down to writing so I can remember it. And boy, it sounds really attractive. And then business comes. It's like I get back on the track and I kind of forgot where I put that, what the picture was. How do I stay on track to make this real?
So great question. Earl Nightingale, who recorded probably what was known at the time was the most successful recording on success in the history of humankind, which was called The Greatest Secret. It sold millions and millions of copies many, many years ago. And he was asked once, how do you manage time? When you have goals, how do you manage time? And he said, no one manages time. We all get 24 hours in a day. The most successful people in the world don't get more time than anybody else. They manage activities. So when business is coming and we're, as we describe it with our hand going around in circles, that we're building business under a certain methodology of building business. We want to challenge, unless we take a step back and look at the activities that we're engaging in and hold those in reference to the vision of our values, which includes health and relationship and vocation and time and money freedom. And what I have found is if you put up a 12-month calendar, because a year from now you will have a life, and you plug in some non-negotiables that feed the different quadrants of your life, you will find literally, most people don't believe this until they do it, but you will actually be more productive in the hours that you have, rather than waiting for the time to put your family in, waiting for the time to put that walk in the morning, get your head on straight, and the mindset that allows you to see opportunities you may have been stumbling over. That literally, if you will put your pattern right on that calendar, and you don't even have, the great news is you don't even have to do it perfectly. You will negotiate with it, but just the fact that it holds a space on your calendar, that if I were living a life that was in harmony, and that's a great word, rather than balance, very hard to hold balance, much easier to move from harmony. if it's in harmony with what I've said matters to me, because at the end of the day, we all keep a perfect record of our values. It's our checkbook and it's our calendar. I can say all day long that my family matters to me, but if it's not in my calendar and it didn't show up in my checkbook, that family vacation or that time, it's just words.
I've never heard it expressed that clearly, Mary. Our values are very easy to calculate. Checkbook and calendar. I think that's great, and it's so true. And one of the things I try to do, and as we're going through all this, is that I go ahead and really focus on what are my values, and what is that dream life that I want to achieve, and I've got that down, and it's real clear, and then that acts as a tremendous filter for me. I mean, I really value a simple and elegant life.
That's right.
And it's, so easy as entrepreneurs to make things complicated. And particularly as you have more success, what happens, I mean, I know you have this experience too, as you have more success, you have more opportunities and more opportunities to screw up that harmony that we're talking about.
That's right. So notice that the clarity of your vision becomes a very clear filter for yes and no, because your vision that you've taken some time to breathe life into, that if my life were like this, I would love that. Most people don't ask that question. What's a life I would love living? They ask, what's a life I can live? What do the conditions tell me I can do? What is the economy saying? Rather than getting close enough really to the very thing breathing us. And it'll speak. Nobody will dream a life exactly the way each one of us will, because we have a unique thumbprint. What will light up our lives, what we would love to bring forth and be and do and give and have, will be different. So when you pay attention to that, you'll start to become more alive. Get a picture for it. Now you have a destination. Align with it. So you vision it, you align with that, and you practice living by it. You set out in the morning to be the person who's living that life with what you can today. And one of the key in bringing something forth, we know through physics that, I mean, you know it with your television. If you're tired of negative news, constantly negative news, you switch the frequency from CNN, constantly negative news, to a different frequency, because your tuner will go to any channel you decide. If you want discovery, but you keep seeing bad news, the problem is in the tuning, what I'm tuned to. And when I think that, oh, then I'll be able to have my family time, then I'll be able to live a quality life, there's a pattern that keeps what I'm being and doing out there somewhere. And when then becomes now, usually the pattern is still winning. And all we have to do is look back over the last 3 years and see if there is a real hockey stick in our fulfillment, in our freedom, in our fun, or if we're trapped inside a pattern that continues to produce more and harder. Yes, maybe more money, but is it more fulfillment and more fun and more flow and more aliveness? Because that area of wealth produces longevity and difference making and real impact.
Yeah, and it's longevity on everything, on our relationships, our businesses, our quality of life, our health, and so on. And now this is so good. And what I love is, as you create the vision, alignment. What were the 3 words you used? Vision, alignment, and
living from the vision in the day that you're in. It's not out there somewhere. We have to put it on and come from it. Just like if I want discovery on my TV, I have to come from the frequency that's harmonious with that picture. Same thing once you have a picture in your mind, there is a frequency match to it. You dream it up. Walt Disney did a beautiful job of that when he dreamed up Disneyland. His dream was, it could be any dream you've got, but I want to create a theme park. I want to create a amusement park that when people step in, they touch the childlike part of themselves, whether they're little kids or they're great big old adults, that when someone steps through the doors, he had no idea what it was going to look like. And he got a group of people together and every idea was welcome. And they spent 4 days locked up dreaming possibilities, and they wrote every possibility down. And that's the fun part of dreaming your life that you would love living. Every possibility. We'll go down the Amazon. We'll write them all down. Some of them will have more electricity to them than others. Circle the ones that have electricity. So you get a good, clear vision. vision, alignment, and then action. Because most people get stuck on the action part. They don't do the little things they could do in the day they're in, waiting for some big thing to happen to change. Then I'll be. It's amazing how fast. And one of the great things, this is a tool I use all the time, John, and I give my entrepreneurs. They will, the stories of what this tool does is massive. One of my clients owns a business that generates around $500 million, around $500 million a year. And he's very successful building business in this way, and then came looking for me and expanded what success meant to him. And I gave him this tool of asking this question. You know, when you go to the internet, which the internet is really a body of information that is everything humans have learned over about the last 6,000 years. And it's driven by whatever search engine you use. You have to tell it what you're interested in. So if you know that when you go to Google or whatever your search engine is, that if you are specific, you get much more calibrated information than if you're general. I asked it one time, movie theaters in Seaside. I was in Oregon. I knew there was a movie theater in a town 10 miles away. I was like, you know how many seasides in the world there are? They're all over the place. But when I got specific,
close to the sea.
yeah, I got specific. Not only the place, the times, the movies, everything was right. They had the address. So when you have a clear vision, your not only your surface mind, but your unconscious, the subconscious of you, can go to work on it. Watch your ability to translate opportunity increase. But it increases dramatically when you're taking even small sequential steps. So here's the tool. So you have a vision. Ask yourself, just sit down and get quiet. This is a Thomas Edison practice, arguably the most prolific inventor ever in American history. His practice was to have an idea of what he wanted to generate. I shall discover and deliver for the world a system of illumination that completely eliminates our current requirement on oil lamp illumination. He has no idea how to do it, but he believes that the mind he thought the idea up in knows how to do it. Steve Jobs did the same thing. He was a Jetsons fan as a kid, and he knew that the current technology did not know how to do the things he wanted, but he believed that the mind he thought it up in, once you dream it up, it has to exist at least in its idea state, which means if you track along the ideas and take action on them, information will pour right to you. Opportunities will show themselves to you, because there is an invisible side to everything visible. Everything has a thought before it's a thing. Everything. Everybody knows it. Almost nobody knows the power of knowing it. When you begin to harness a bit of that invisible side of every success you've had, and then harness that towards something that matters to you now, watch things start to rearrange themselves through the interaction between you and this thing called life. So the question you ask the search engine of the infinite, not the internet so much, but the infinite, because you're thinking all the time. You don't get to not think. But there's a difference between real thinking and mental activity. Because real thinking is generative. That's why you spend time dreaming up your dream or your life. Ask it this question. Just ask, what could I do now that I know this is the life I would love to live? What could I do in 5 minutes? What could I do in 5 minutes that would move me in the direction of that life? And then write down every idea that comes your way. Some of them, I call them Burger King ideas. They're, work at Burger King 3 nights a week. It's like, I'm not going to do that. But if you write down every idea, and that's really the clue. If I took you out in a field, in a farm today, and there was a pump house, and we pump water, the first water that pours out, we're not going to drink it. It's brackish. It's been in the pipe for a while. But only if we pump long enough will there be enough vacuum to the water table where the crystal clear water that we want to drink is flowing. So the way that you can transact with that is ask, what can I do in 5 minutes? Write down every answer you get. Look for the ones that have the most electricity. Put them in priority and do something in 5 minutes. And watch what happens with your energy. Watch what happens with your own state of aliveness.
Well, you get so inspired. And, the other thing that I like, too, and I mean, this is part of us being together in a mastermind group, is when you share it with like-minded people, your vision, the magic kind of grows exponentially because other people get enrolled in your vision and they want to help you. I mean, four of the most powerful words in the English language are, I need your help. And boy, it just seems that people show up, Mary, for this, and and it just takes off exponentially. But if you don't have the dream, you don't take the time to prime the pump, that very first step, then nothing happens, or actually something happens, but it's in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the something that happens is your old thinking just keeps running around the track another week or two or year or 10.
Now, this is great. let me go to a segment on the book of the day. And Mary, you're an extremely successful author, best-selling author, and I was asking you, what would be a book that you would recommend now? I wrote down, you've got a new book coming out, Brave Thinking, at the time of this recording. It's not yet out yet, but I will order it as soon as I see that
I'll
it's
let
coming
you know.
out.
I'll send you a copy.
Thank you. You've been, really, you've been out there inspiring so many people, and you've worked with some of the greatest thinkers and inspiring speakers and consultants and CEOs. What's one book that you would recommend to share with our audience?
This will be a bit of an unusual book, but I will highly recommend this book for entrepreneurs, particularly the heart-centered entrepreneur who wants to live a life that has meaning and purpose and significance, where the full spectrum of your opportunity to live a great life with health and relationships, vocation, and time and money freedom, that when you put your head on the pillow the last time, you go, I am so grateful that I made these choices. It was a book written in 1910. You can find it free online. You can order it through one of the book houses as well. It's called The Science of Getting Rich, written by a man named Wallace Wattles, Wattles. It's a small book. It bears study. You'll read it through once, and then I would encourage you for 90 days to read chapters 4, 7, 11, and 14 every day for 90 days. If you miss a day, start over. Because what it'll do is actually lay in a new operating system for more success, more freedom, more fun, more difference, and more money than the current pattern that you've been living by will allow.
Well, Mary, it's definitely on my to-do list, so thank you for
Great.
that, and it should be for everyone. Let's go to the next segment. And this is resources. And Mary, I'm going to put up on the screen your website. Mary, for those of you who are listening, remember you can always go to the show notes at aesnation.com, get the whole transcript, the notes from our meeting, any of the links that we talk about, as well as Mary's website. But I'm at marymorrissey.com. Mary, what kind of resources do you have available for our fellow entrepreneurs here?
We have all kinds of things. John, one is a daily inspiration, because in the morning, whether you're aware of it or not, you do put on a mindset. So if you do decide to put on an expansive mindset for how you're going to approach your day, even while things are not yet the way you ultimately want them. So we have a daily, it's called the Daily Dream Builder. That's free. If you just go to the website, you'll see a box, a white box with a red ribbon. And if you will print that, that gives you a very strong, time-tested, 30-plus year tested tool for helping you unlock really your deepest longings, your greatest desires, and your secret discontents. Because untended discontent ultimately has to symptomize. You'll find a symptom in your body. You mentioned in your previous life you were sick a lot before you reinvented how you were going to relate to this thing called life. So untended discontent must symptomize, create problems. So this helps you deal with it when it's still in its wavelength form versus out there in a condition that's actually much more difficult to change. Can always be changed, but still takes more energy because it's already concretized into a result. So it's called the Dream Builder Toolkit. It'll help you get close to you. It'll help you uncover really what's going on with you and help you design a dream for a life you would love living.
No, and that's a great gift, and it's who doesn't want to build a dream? Let me do the last segment here. And this is the key takeaways, Barry, and I want to share with you the kind of what I'm walking away. And I've taken all kinds of notes. So, I mean, it's just a lot of value. But I'm going to come back to the simple part that you shared. And to me, the very first part is, number one, I usually try to get 3 takeaways out of every podcast. I have the privilege of interviewing a successful entrepreneur like yourself. And number one is vision, and really taking the time to get that clarity of vision so that you know what you want to achieve. What does that life look like? Health, relationship, from a wealth perspective, spiritual, and do this on purpose. Paint that picture, reduce it to writing, number one. Number two is going ahead, once you have that, laying out really the actions, that you're going to take to put them in place. And I love the analogy of that priming the pump. That what we need to do is start moving forward. I mean, we can have messy lives, and we are where we are at this point, and none of us are perfect. We're working toward perfection, but we're not perfect. And what we have, though, is we have the opportunity to take action in the direction that we want to do, and to really get clear on that. And then the third part, I'm going to go. You called it managing activity. I like to call it managing energy. Where we all get 24 hours, 7 days a week. We got 168 hours, no matter how rich you are or poor you are, we all have that same amount. And it's, what are we choosing to invest our energy in? And it's a conscious decision in those activities that are going to take, there are many activities we all do that take a lot of energy, but boy, we want to make sure they're invested and aligned with that vision. Now, Mary, I want to thank you. This has been a great podcast, and it's really, so often we talk about how to get more business, do great client experiences and all this. And this is something that's even more important, is to really make those dreams happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things I want you to do is take action. And one of the best actions you can take is put this in place, because it's going to make a huge difference for all your stakeholders, your clients, your future clients, your teammates, your partners, all your relationships, and really your community. Let's go out and make our dent in the universe by realizing our dreams. I wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESNation.com.